He told me his name was Jacob, and it turns out that wasn't entirely a lie. It was a nickname. Some people who knew him offline, like family or real world friends, they knew him as Jacob too. That's the thing about the captain. He created this online persona that felt authentic. It felt really real, it felt honest and relatable, but in the end, we don't really know where the mask stopped and the man began. We're all just trying to piece it together, trying to find the man behind the messages. And now we're left with this hole, this horrifying contradiction. Was it real? Or was it a lie? The truth is, it was both. He could be kind and cruel. He could help someone through a mental breakdown, and later commit something unforgivable. We're not here to rewrite history, we're here to look at it, exactly as it was, even if it makes us sick.
Captain Howdy, Captain Howdy. You no longer my good friend. You were down on the street.
In this section of the series, we're going to walk through some of our actual conversations. Not just mine, but messages, screenshots, and emails forwarded to me by other people in the community. People who knew him well, or thought they did. Because this isn't just my story, this shook a lot of people.
I am here with my good friend, the captain. Hello. Say hello, hello. And we are doing a shot of kamikaze, which is a very rare occurrence for me. So here's to you, and here's to me. Friends forever we shall be. But if we ever disagree, fuck you, Dan.
Here's to me.
Fuck you. Here's to me.
Indeed. That was amazing. Wow.
By the way, Gray was friends with that guy that offed himself and still protected him. That is how sick that motherfucker is.
Another guy, there's a guy named, we went by the captain.
This guy, this Captain Howdy, which is a content creator, he killed his wife and himself in goddamn February. I am not shitting you. You can look it up. There's an article about it. He was the creator behind Captain Howdy. And you know the sickest part is that we saved that fucking piece that he lost his shit, and people fucking scrutinized me for it. Because I showed how such a fucking narcissist this guy was. That he was totally batshit crazy.
About the Captain Howdy, I go through so many different feelings and come at it from so many different angles, because a situation like this is so complex, and people who have had the pleasure of meeting the Captain Howdy say that he was friendly, helpful, thoughtful, and indeed, I hope that this event doesn't wipe out any of those positive feelings. And in my life, when I am being thrown around like a ship in a storm at sea, with the way I'm thinking about things, I just want you to realize that that does not take away my respect for the Captain Howdy as a creator.
It's just, it caught me off guard, and at first I didn't want to believe it. That was frustrating in itself, to not even be able to find out if it was my friend, or the captain. And that was the hardest part, man, is sitting there waiting for those 3 days, because I didn't want to believe it. I just didn't believe it until I saw it officially, and that's when it really hit me. And I think about it all the time. It's really sad.
I mean, look at Captain Howdy. He had to literally go fucking kill his witch wife and himself and leave their 1-year-old behind, because even he could not handle fucking reality. And see what they do, they literally go and they do black magic rituals to try to control the narrative of this case And they wonder, oh, why can't we get to the prop? Why can't we get to the prop? Well, motherfucker, you'll figure it out.
We've spoken to a bunch of creators, friends, and followers of his. People who were devastated, confused, angry. Some of them were just numb. Some of them talk to him daily. Others saw him as a mentor, a guide, and some even thought of him like a brother. And then there's the other side of it. People who look at what he did and they say, maybe he was always a monster. Maybe we were just too close to it. Here are some of their voices.
Another guy, there's a guy named, we went by the Captain, on YouTube. And I think it was yesterday or the night before yesterday. I can't remember exactly when. But I heard that, I don't know, it was a really strange story. Like, he was involved in he killed it wasn't really his wife, but they were sort of like married, 20 years together. He killed her and then he killed himself. And I knew this guy. Like, I actually had talked to him on the phone a couple times. And there's people that know him a hell of a lot better than I did. He made videos on Delphi for a long time. And, we communicated for years, just on Facebook. And he had talked about how he and his wife, they tried to have kids. He sent me, he was so excited when she was pregnant, and then finally they had the baby. Just really, he really cared about this child, like he was just so happy that they finally were able to have a baby. And then it turns out that, one day he's staying at home and everything, working, and then according to Hoosier Cold Cases, he, she comes home wearing her normal clothes when she should have been working, and then he questioned her at where she'd been. He thought maybe she was cheating on him, and then he wanted to see her phone, and she wouldn't let him see the phone, and then he, I don't know what happened, like he got kicked out of the house, and then she claimed that he was doing, hitting her and stuff like that, and then he wouldn't let her see the kid. What was the other? Oh yeah, and then there's this, like, she's dating these other people, and one of the guys that was dating her said that the child was his, the one that he was so excited to have. And so then I guess he went over to her place at work to talk about something else, maybe. I don't know. He had a gun with him, obviously. So then he ends up shooting her, and then he shot himself on the way out in the parking lot. It's absolutely crazy as hell, but I don't know how to, this is one of those things, like, sometimes you push a person to the edge of their limits. Like, if you destroy their entire life, that stuff happens, It's not like that's the choice you should make, but it doesn't.
He was lazy, neglectful, jobless, drunk, and selfish, and abusive. He told people this wasn't like just here. This has been a long time running, because this is an excuse he used to get off the phone with me all the time, was that he had a job, he had a work call, but from the sources that I have spoken to, he didn't have a job, which deduction would be, if now that we've all heard what all of the other people that he was talking to every day, how could he possibly have time? He was on the phone with like 5 or 6 people every day, all day long, cunning to make each person, I'm only telling you this, promise me you won't tell, promise me you'll keep this between us, promise. Normal people keep that promise. Therefore, that helped him to divide all of his friends from knowing that he was just telling everybody that.
And perhaps one of the more important opinions would be from somebody who knew the captain on a personal level, right? Well, somebody who knew the captain for over 20 years anonymously wrote us this letter. And it says, I know how close you were. I just need you to know he wasn't who you thought he was. Not in the slightest. He made people see what he wanted them to see, whether that was a victim, a hero, or a brother. The truth is, he was violent, mentally and physically abusive, very cunning and charming, a narcissist and a cult leader. He thrived on being the center of attention, being right and making people think they were dumb, and he could show you things unimaginable. This man destroyed my life, and I am truly lucky to be alive. I tried to get her out multiple times. When you're being manipulated, when you are scared to say anything, when you think and believe, this is normal, right? He always accused those around him of doing things that just weren't true. In case anyone ever spoke up and told the truth, he could rebuttal. They were crazy or lying. The truth of the matter is, it was always him doing the damage. He was a chess master for a reason. He planned and plotted every single scenario before they ever happened. He was sick, and I desperately tried to help him for well over 20 years, but in his mind, he was never the problem. I will never say the things that happened in that home, or go into any detail. This is bad enough already. Believe what you want. I know the truth. I lived it. When we first met a long time ago, he looked at me and said, I'm a monster. I replied, no you aren't. I love and accept you for the good and the bad, but you are no monster. When someone tells you who they are, listen. I do wish you the best in life, and I'm only sharing this because he's already gotten away with murder and shouldn't be allowed to get away with anything else. Not anymore. Amanda was a good woman, and not a single thing he said about her was true. There was no gun in that house. His stab wound was self-inflicted. Cigarette burns up and down his arm, self-inflicted. Cuts and bruises he did himself. He did not have a job. He starved his own son, killed animals, and made jokes about all of this. She didn't abuse him in any way. Everyone wants to say, no way, he wouldn't do this. It was his finances, stress, cheating, etc. His whole life outside of his home was a lie and manipulation, and I am sorry. I know he was your friend, but someone needs to know the truth.